want to develop in, to shift the gears off the politics for a minute. We also want to talk to you about Def Poetry Jam and how do you get that to come together.
Absolutely.
Like, what was the origin idea of that, and how did that thing come to fruition?
Well, it came about because I was heavily on the spoken word set back in like '94. So I made my bones and we worked my way up. I'm a wordsmith, word engineer, boom, 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 right? Back to the grill again to cook up more plots than Gil again, so I just really heavily into it. I did what is called spoken rap because I was a rapper first. And then so when I got on the spoken word circuit, I won a lot of contests and worked my way up very quickly because it was different from what most people were doing. And so made a big name for myself. And then eventually I wound up meeting Danny Simmons, who's Russell Simmons' big brother. And I was at home. I was in Park Slope, Brooklyn. And it was a day that was a beautiful night. I was watching Def Comedy Jam. And I was eating a burrito. It was a beautiful night. I had my iguana. I was looking at my iguana in the tank, had a beautiful burrito. My iguana was in the tank. And then I watched Def Comedy Jam, and I was on the spoken word circuit then. I was like, wow, a mic, an audience, a stage, Def Comedy Jam, Def Poetry Jam. And I didn't know what to, do with that because I didn't know anybody. Then I heard through the grapevine that Danny, who was a poet and writer and all that as well, he got that, I think it's from his mother or father. He was in Brooklyn at the time. He since moved to Philly. He's in Philly now. So he was in Brooklyn. So I came through with some dudes, because at the time I was with the Black Panther Collective, which is an offshoot of the Panther Party. I got politicized. I've been politicized for years. So I was a part of the Black Panther Collective out of Harlem, the Harlem branch. So we rolled through, and I went to his house / gallery in Brooklyn, and I told him, I said, well, what do you think about there being a poetry version to the Def Comedy Jam? And then he got warm on me with that. And then he told me to run it by his son, Jamal Simmons rather. And then I went back to Danny and I was like, yo, let's make this thing pop. And then from there he set up a meeting at Def Jam Universal. And then Bob Sumner was there, who created Def Comedy Jam. And then they said, okay, it's your meeting. What's up? And then I told him, I said, you did Comedy Jam. You got Bill Bellamy, Martin Lawrence, you made stars from it. What do you think about there being a poetry version? And then Danny and Bob Sumner was already sold on it, so then they had to just sell it to Russell. And then Danny set up a meeting between Russell Simmons and myself and Danny, and we were tag teaming Russell to let him know, yo, this spoken word thing is hot. You might want to jump on it. And then Russell was like, yo, what is poetry? A bunch of niggas on the corner with dreadlocks? I can't make no money from that shit. And then we had to kind of convince him, but he was really playing the devil's advocate. He knew he's a very sharp dude, so Russell knew that he could make money from it, but he just wanted us to really be able to lay the picture out for him. He knew that there was a bubbling culture because everywhere he went, they were throwing it in his face, or he would see it or hear about it. And then one thing led to the other, and then the next thing you know, boom, 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 we wound up getting a 4-season pilot, which turned into a 6-season show. And Richard Pepler was the president at HBO at the time. And I was the one that suggested that Mos Def, a.k.a. Yasimbe, be the host because he's the bridge between rap and spoken word. But at the time, he was with the Lyricist Lounge on MTV, so that goes to show you how far back this thing goes. So we had to commandeer him from MTV to HBO, and then Mos Def said, in classic Mos Def speak, I'll get down with it, but it can't be whack. And then, the rest is history. The rest is history. It wasn't whack. We wound up that 4-season pilot turned into 6 seasons. We wound up getting a Peabody Award for 6 seasons on HBO and a Tony Award for the Broadway version. I was the town executive at HBO and executive consultant to the Broadway show, and the rest, as they say, is history. So we got the Peabody Award, the Tony Award. I'm looking at my Tony Award, Peabody Award right now. The Tony Award, they want us to pay for that shit. I'm not paying for that. I'm listening.
Bruce, we got to we got to let our listeners know in terms of, not only was that a stellar show, if the show was stellar, then the guests you had were gargantuan Godzillas of greatness.
Rakim, KRS-One,
Dave Chappelle, Lauryn Hill,
was on that
Brooks, Smokey Robinson. We had
Smokey Robinson,
Downey Killer.
Amiri Baraka, Sonia Sanchez. It was crazy. I mean, Jamie Foxx was on it with his crazy self. I mean, we had like Caroline Kennedy, Benjamin Bratt, Jewel. We had so many rappers and actors and comedians and on the show, and it was so surreal for me when we was filming it, in Manhattan at a restaurant. That was a restaurant that Malik Yoba, shout out to Malik Yoba, that's my homie. The actor Malik Yoba used to own that restaurant. So we filmed it at an old restaurant that he used to run. And so, so it was a nice run, man. HBO had me up in the Mondrian in Beverly Hills. The fucking hotel was spinning around. I ain't know nothing about nothing like that.
Yo,
you know what I mean?
Son, we got to tell you though. How did y'all get? Now, what was the criteria? Well, I don't even want to say criteria because that discredits the guests. How did y'all get? How was it? They reached out to y'all to come on, or did y'all reach out to them?
Oh, you mean in terms of like HBO? Who to come on?
Well, yeah. Well, who? Yeah, in terms of the people coming on the show. How did y'all coordinate those appearances?
They came to me. They came out to me.
Okay.
It was myself and Walter Mudu. I was the executive. I was the town executive at HBO for Def Poetry Jam, and Walter Mudu was my assistant. Big up to Walter Mudu. So we would get those. Back in the day, it was tapes. It was big-ass tapes. So people would start sending tapes into the Fat Farm office at Rush Communications. That was my makeshift office, dude. In the cafeteria. That was my makeshift office. They had me in the fucking cafeteria. So people would send people, and then whenever I had meetings around 12 o'clock, you could hear the microwave popping and shit. They're like, damn, your office is dope. You got a microwave in that shit? And I was like, yeah, I'm faking the funk. I'm faking the funk, right? And then because I was in the cafeteria, like Kamora Lee, Russell Simmons' ex-wife, she would like come in there, and they would always see water all on the floor. You know why the water was on the floor? Because I was the one that was responsible for changing the water bottles. Those big water bottles, I don't know how to turn that shit. It's like an art form, man. When you flip that shit, right? And every time they would turn the water over, it would be all over the place because I didn't know how to do that shit. So that was one of the things. They would make fun of me. They were like, yeah, that nigga, like, he the one, Bruce must have been the one that changed the water because it's all over the place. And then they had this little black dog, this little rich black dog. I used to always, I hated that dog, man, because he was rich. You know what I mean? And he just looked rich, right? And I'd be like, and he looked at me like, you broke nigga. I could have food in my hand. He looked at me like, nigga, please. I'm not eating that shit. I'm not eating that. You know what I mean? I have like something like a sandwich or something, right? Like a tuna fish sandwich. And I'd be like, here you go. Because, you know, you think of the dog smell food, they're going to run right up to you, right? He was looking at me like, nigga, please. I'm used to filet mignon, right? On caviar.
He's like, I'm getting a tomahawk steak.
Yeah. And the dog would look at me like, please. That was funny. I couldn't stand that dog, though. That's between us.